Good morning, everybody. I'm Gitanjali Chakrabarti, your science teacher, and today I'm here to explain the different parts of the flower. Now, the flower that I've taken is a very commonly available flower which you will find in your surroundings, and that is the China rose, which is also popularly known as hibiscus. Now, if you can see here, I have collected a few different colors of the same flower, that is China rose and hibiscus. Now here, if you see, it's a red colored China rose, and this is a pink flower in which, if you see, the petals are overlapping, giving it a very fuller appearance. This is a China rose which is powder pink in color, and this China rose is white in color, right? So I'm going to explain you the different parts of the flower. A flower is the reproductive part of the plant. It helps the plant to produce more of its kind. So the sole purpose of flower is sexual reproduction. A flower is the organ of reproduction in plants, and it leads to the formation of fruits and seeds. New plants are produced after the germination of seeds. Flowers are also sources of food. For example, nectar from flower is used as food by insects. Cloves, which is long, are obtained from the dried, unopened flower buds of the clove plant. Flowers are also grown in gardens, residences, and along the roadsides. They add color to the surroundings and purify the environment with their fragrance. So I'm going to explain the different parts of the flower in this China rose or hibiscus. Now let's begin. Now this we all know is the stem, right? Now if you can see the green part here, right? This green part is called as the sepals. Sepals are small green leaf-like structures, and their main function is to protect the flower in its bud stage, which is the young, unopened condition of the flower. It also prevents the flower from drying out. So this entire green cup-like portion that you can see here, this is called as the sepal, and together this entire whorl is also called as the calyx, right? Now the next portion is the petals. Petals are the most prominent and brightly colored part of the plant. So this brightly colored red part of the plant, this is called as the petals. And they play a very major role to attract pollinators like butterflies, bees, and bats, right? So this is your sepals, and together this entire whorl is called calyx, and this brightly colored part is called petals, and together this whorl is called as corolla. So after removing the sepals and the petals, we will be able to see the reproductive parts of flower. Now for that, I will quickly remove the sepals first, right? You can do it with your hand and you can put it aside, okay? And now we will remove the petals so that we come to the reproductive parts. Now China rose or hibiscus is also called as the complete flower. Why? Because it has four main parts that a flower must have: petals, sepal, the male reproductive part stamen, and the female reproductive part called pistil. There are other examples of complete flowers like tulip and rose. They are also complete flowers. And any of these element is missing, then it is an incomplete flower. Okay, so now we move on to the male and the female reproductive part. Okay, now if you see here, these small structures that you can see, now this at the tip, the yellow portion which is at the tip, it is a bilobe structure which is called as anther, right? And a small filament, if you can see here, a small stick-like structure of filament, this is called as a filament, and anther and filament together forms the stamen, which is the male reproductive part of the flowering plant. So stamen has two main parts. First, the anther, which is a bilobe structure, and a small stalk-like structure which is called as the filament. And the main function of anther is it helps in pollen development. It is the site of pollen development. And the main function of the filament is that it transmits water and nutrients to the anther. And now we talk about the female reproductive part. The female reproductive part is called as pistil, or it is also called as scarpel. Now the female reproductive part, if you can see, let's remove this base from here. Let's remove this entire base from here. Yeah. Now if you see this swollen portion, right, which is at the base, this is actually called as the ovary, and it contains potential seeds which are called ovules. Now from the ovary there is a long stalk. Can you see this long stalk like structure? Right, this is called as style, and inside the style there is a pollen tube which carries the pollen grain to the ovule. Now the tip of the female reproductive system, that is called as the stigma, and it is often sticky. And now I'm going to make a small incision in the ovary so that we can see the ovules. Okay, now if you see, I have removed, okay. Now this is the ovary. Now inside the ovary there are going to be very small eggs which we called as ovules. Let's try and find out if we can just make a small incision. And yes, yeah, can you see these small egg-like structures here? Right, these small egg-like structures, if you can see very nicely, these are nothing but a few of them are also sticking to my hand. These are nothing but they are called as ovule. So this ovary matures into a fruit. Either it's dry or fleshy, enclosing the seed, and the ovule develops into a seed. Now a quick recap of the different parts of the flower that we have studied, and for that purpose I've drawn this diagram for all of you. Now this is the diagram of China rose or hibiscus. Now the swollen base is called as pedicel. Now the sepal, small green leaves like structure which were forming like a cup, and their main function is to protect the developing bud. That is called as the sepal, and together all the sepals, they are called as calyx. And now the brightly colored part of the leaf, can you see the pink color? That they are called as petals, and all the petals together, or the entire world together, is called as corolla. And then we move on first to the male reproductive part. Now the male reproductive part has a bilobe structure which is anther, and a long stalk which is called as the filament, and together it's called as stamen. And the female reproductive part, the tip is called as stigma, which is often very sticky. It helps in sticking of the pollen grains. And from the stigma there is a long tube-like structure which is called style, and inside the style there is a pollen tube. And the base of the female reproductive part, that is called the ovary, and inside the ovary is the ovules. So this was all about the different parts of the flower. Hope you liked the video and hope to see you next time. Thank you.